Welcome to the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. I'm Miko, once again joined here by Morgan Cannon. Morgan, we are back to do another film study, but yesterday we did our film study on, breaking down some of the highlights from the Lions-Packers game. This time we're actually going to look forward. We have Carolina coming into town this week, and as much as I would like to say that, this is going to be a really tough game for the Lions, the Panthers are 0-4 for a reason, right?
Yeah, definitely. They're a young team. They've obviously got a rookie quarterback in Bryce Young, the number one overall pick in this past April's draft. So yeah, they've I don't think they've gotten blown out every game, but they've played some really bad stretches of football, and their record reflects that. So
Yeah, and so in today's film study, listen, this is the NFL. The term "any given Sunday" is synonymous with the NFL for a reason, because the Panthers, even though they are 0-4, they do have some players on both the offensive and defensive side of this football that can really give opposing teams fits. And so in this film study, we're going to start with the defensive side, because there's no way we can talk about the Carolina Panthers without talking about Brian Burns. And just what he does for this defense, and how many issues he can cause for opposing offenses if he's not accounted for.
yeah, definitely, man. He's one of them dudes.
Yeah. So in this first play that we're going to look at, this is something that kind of really screamed, something to highlight with Brian Burns when it comes to how he plays the run game, right? We know he's a pass rusher. We know he wants to get after the quarterback. But if you are not, an athletic offensive line and you're not able to account for him in the run game, stuff like this is going to happen to your running back.
Yeah, poor Bijan here, right? Like gets pitched the ball and just gets obliterated as soon as he catches it. It would have been the only thing that made this cooler for Brian Burns is if he hit the bully McGuire once he got up.
And I mean, this is like, to your point, right? Bijan, getting his kind of welcome to the NFL moment, because I believe this was week 1 of the NFL season. But I mean, again, you're seeing what makes Brian Burns an issue, right? This explosiveness, his ability to beat your offensive tackle with speed, with really good bend, and getting into the backfield and being able to limit your run game. When you try to do these outside zone type, concepts, or outside run type concepts.
Yeah, if you're going to do this against someone like Brian Burns, who has elite get off, like top 1% in the league, you better have a freakazoid at right tackle like the Lions do in Penei Sewell. 76 never has a shot here with how the play is drawn up, and Burns is able to just scream off the edge and just, smush Bijan, man. I bet Bijan was like, hopefully this isn't how it's going to be all season, because that's going to be a long year.
Yeah.
But
And I think you did it, like, again, what you're talking about with 76, right? Fortunately, Panay is very well known for his athleticism, but this kind of, this is the type of tape that I would be showing to Panay and being like, hey, this is why you can't fall asleep on any given down, because if you are slow, if you are late, if you don't get your kick, timed properly, this guy will be, by you in an instant.
yeah, I hope. Yeah, Panay's gonna have to bring his lunch pail ready to work, similar to how Decker had to face Rashawn Gary and the Lions win over the Packers. If Brian Burns is in fact lined up over Panay for most of the afternoon, it's going to be a long afternoon. He's going to have his work cut out for him, because Burns is. Make no mistake about it, Burns is in that elite echelon of edge rushers in the NFL, up there with the Myles Garretts and the Bosas and everybody else.
Yeah, I think, again, only, we're going into week 5 of the NFL season. Brian Burns already has 3 sacks on the year. So, I mean, again, he's going to be coming into Detroit looking to add to that total. And again, if it's not getting sacks, he's going to be doing stuff like this, causing havoc in your run game as well. Outside of the run game, though, right? Brian Burns, once again, is an issue when we specifically start talking about the pass game. And this is where that elite speed that you're talking about, Morgan, that elite bend that you're talking about, really starts to show itself. And Jared Goff is going to have his head on a swivel, and he's going to have to make sure that his protection is sound.
Yeah, because right here, this isn't on Ritter. This is just, he barely gets to the back of his drop when Burns is already there. 76 has to do a better job of getting a little bit wider with his set and trying to catch Burns early on. Like, look right here, 76 is already toast. His shoulder, he's perpendicular with Brian Burns right now. So like his right shoulder is all the way open. And at this point, Burns has already, he doesn't even have to turn him. He's turned himself. And, because Burns is a freak, he's able to bend the corner. Like you said, Miko, he beats his hands. What little effort 76 tries to get after him and reaches that big old left paw up there and gets a swipe on Ritter. Good job on Ritter, though, getting back on that ball, right?
No, absolutely, right? I mean, again, being aware of the moment and being aware of where the ball is. But I mean, this is a situation. I believe this was third down as well. This led into a fourth down where the Falcons had to punt. But this is what Brian Burns lives for. He lives for these situations. And so the Lions are gonna have to, really stay ahead of the sticks to not give him these opportunities to just tee off on the quarterback.
Yeah, this is what you want to avoid, right? When you're going against an elite edge rusher, you want to avoid these obvious passing downs where they don't have to respect the run. Like you saw Burns right here, he's just like, "Yep, 76 has a snowball's chance blocking me, and I'm just going to go right by him because I'm assuming he knew Bijan wasn't going to chip him, which I don't know. I
Mhm.
probably would have done if I were Arthur Smith. I'd be like, "Hey, Bijan, give a little chip to Mr. Burns there as you ride by." But yeah, this is just, like they say in basketball, like Shaq says, barbecue chicken. That's what that is. 76 trying to block Brian Burns.
Absolutely. And so again, the defense does have some other players that we're not specifically going to highlight in this film study. But I mean, Morgan, obviously Derek Brown is another defensive player on this Panthers defense that we're going to have to be contending with. A really good run defender, maybe not the most productive when it comes to pass rushing, but we know how much the Lions want to run the ball. Having a guy like Derek Brown in the middle of that defense is also going to cause a few issues for this Lions offense as well, right?
Yeah, Derek Brown's going to be tough to deal with, especially when he's on his A game. He can be a disruptor in the middle. I like some of the pieces the Panthers have, despite the record and how they've looked so far. They have J.C. Horn, who's one of my favorite young corners in football, but I believe he's out for the year. He did. I don't want to say what it was because I don't know off the top,
I
but
think
he's
it's a
out for the year.
hamstring injury, actually.
Okay, so maybe he's not out for the year. I hope, as long as it's nothing, too catastrophic. So, but yeah, they're gonna have to be on their p's and q's, right? Like we're gonna need good games from Frank Ragnow and Big V or Graham Glasgow, whoever's in at right guard, and then Jonah. Everyone's gonna have to come ready to play. Take care of business at home, man. That's gonna be the name of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the Panthers also have a handful of some pretty athletic linebackers as well. Nothing, I don't think nothing of the level that what we saw with Seattle, but I mean they still have Shaq Thompson, and Shaq is, again, one of those productive linebackers that just kind of knows the game. He's been a vet in this league for a while, so he just knows where to be and understands again how to make plays for his defense. But there are a few other linebackers a part of that unit that can really make things difficult for this Lions offense when it comes to running the ball. Um, but I think at the end of the day, I think there are going to be plenty of opportunities for the Lions to get their offense going.
Yeah, you would think this would be a good way for the Lions to continue the little, hot streak they've been on offensively, right? Like get the ground game going early, maybe get their safeties creeping up into the box near the line of the scrimmage, and then take the top off, send Khalif deep. Dare I say it, send Jamison Williams deep, who's I bet it's only going to get 10 or 15 snaps if he plays at all. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Ben Johnson can cook up because this is a young defense. I do think Carolina is one of those teams that'll probably look better in December than they do right now, just because
Sure.
they need to cut their teeth and figure out how to win and figure out how to compete at this level. A lot of them. So yeah, like you said, Miko, any given Sunday.
And speaking of again learning how to win, being able to cut their teeth on the NFL, we got to transition over to the offensive side of the football. Now, currently they have a new quarterback in Bryce Young, who is obviously leading them and just now getting back from an injury. I think this past game with them playing against Minnesota. But Morgan, let's not get it twisted. When it comes down to Carolina and it comes down to how they want to get this offense rolling, it starts with running the football, right?
Yeah, they want to be physical. They want to, put a lot of, some of their jumbo sets in. Like right here, they have two tight ends on the field. And yeah, that this is a staple. If Carolina does get rolling, this is going to be the catalyst, right?
Yeah, because they don't have one of the best offensive lines in the league, but again, they're effective in understanding how they construct their running game and understand they teach their running backs very well of what to do and understanding rushing lanes and understanding where they need to be effective in a game.
Yeah, and they do a good job here. You'll watch Carolina's offensive line. They'll each of them will kind of just wash their assignment down the line, and what that does is it creates cutback lanes for running back. So in this instance, it's Chuba Hubbard. So you'll see him here. It's a stretch zone, and he just sees the little cutback lane, the alley that he can get up into, and does a good job of getting a chunk.
And so going back to last year when the Lions played the Panthers, this was essentially like the stuff that they did, right? To really get after the Lions defensive line and really kind of have control of that game. And they've upgraded their running back room to an extent by adding Miles Sanders. Obviously, this play right here, like you said, is of Chuba Hubbard, but Miles Sanders is a very effective running back as well. Very explosive. He can do a number of different things for this Panthers offense.
Yeah, and unlike the Vikings did here, the Lions will have to, good gap integrity, good run fits, be sound on the backside because, like you said, Miles Sanders is a home run hitter. Like he's one who can get in the open field and take it the distance. So, yeah, backside's going to have to be sound. They're going to have to tackle well, like they've been doing, right? They've been the best run defense in the NFL through 4 weeks. So, really, if I'm Aaron Glenn and Kelvin Shepard and everyone else, I'm just preaching, keep doing what you're doing, be where you need to be sound, be disciplined, and things will kind of take care of themselves. But if you do what the Vikings do here, or did do what the Lions did last year on Christmas Eve, you get gashed. And yeah, like you said, Miko, Carolina hit the Lions with the kitchen sink that day. They were hitting them with stretch zone, wham. They ran some read run, if you remember.
Yeah.
It's like who was the quarterback at the time for Carolina? Goodness.
Oh,
Where he
wow. I
it
can't even
wasn't.
remember. Like, because
Yeah.
that's how like, hold on. That
Sam
highlights
Darnold.
just how bad the passing attack was, and
Yep.
it was mostly just, like, running, but yes, it was Sam Darnold because I remember he ran for a touchdown as well.
Yeah, because the Lions just were not. That was a game where that was a tough game for Hutch among many, but just kind of crashing, getting undisciplined, and taking too many steps when you're the contain. And yeah, a couple times he got caught out of position. Like, yeah, Sam Darnold had an easy touchdown. That's when I knew. I was like, it's about to be a long afternoon for the boys.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's not just the run game, right? When we're talking about, the success of this Panthers offense, they got some quality wide receivers. They added Adam Thielen, they added DJ Chark, two wide receivers that Lions fans are very familiar with. One because they played here, the other because we played against them for many years. Um, but when it comes to this Panthers passing attack, one thing that I noticed when going through their film, they try to keep it fairly simple. You see a lot of things like we're going to see right here, which is a crossing route by Thielen, and Bryce Young just kind of like hits him in stride, doesn't even really have to go through any progressions. He kind of knows that Thielen's going to be coming, across the field and just hits him right in stride.
Yeah, they did a good job. They lost DJ Moore obviously to the Bears when they traded up for the number one pick to draft Bryce Young, but they've got some veterans, like you said, Miko. They got Thielen, they got Chark, and yeah, they do try to keep it. It's rhythmic. They're trying to get Bryce Young in a little bit of a groove, just because the start to the season has been rough for him with how their offensive line's been playing. It's been pretty porous, to say the least. So he's getting hit a lot. He has defenders right in his lap when he's trying to throw the ball. And as we know, he's not like the tallest guy. He's around 6 feet
Yeah.
tall. So it's compounding problems when he has linemen, whether it's offensive linemen being walked back into his lap, or if it's defensive linemen getting their hands up in throwing lanes. It's making life tough for him.
Yeah. And again, when he's given time and when he's able to make these reads and he can, have good rhythm in his play, he can make really good throws like this. Um, Again, it's a lot of though when it comes to their passing attack, it's a lot of crossing routes. It's a lot of screens, like a hell of a lot of screens um for this Carolina Panthers offense. And it speaks to exactly what you're talking about, right? They're trying to get him into a rhythm, they're trying to keep things relatively simple, and they're trying not to, have him just sitting behind his offensive line that does have a tendency to get beat and get beat pretty badly.
Yeah, and like we just mentioned, like he's not a big guy, and yeah, you're right, Nico. They run a lot of screens, they run a lot of draws, and the purpose of that most likely is to try to just keep the pass rush a little more honest, right? Like where they can't just tee off on Bryce Young like we saw earlier with the Brian Burns strip sack. So yeah, you want to stay out of those situations, and if you get in them, you're going to run screens or draws or just something just to keep them a little bit honest.
Yeah, because again, like I talked about, this is an offensive line that I do think the Lions should be able to feast. They should be able to get after fairly easily. Um, because when they do try, when Carolina does finally get to a point where they want to take some deep shots and they want to really extend the field, this is the stuff that their offensive line allows to happen to their quarterback, and it's not pretty.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is even from that view. So we'll see it here. We talked about it before, Miko, but the guard and center, the right guard and the center just get whipped here, both of them. And if it weren't for a chip from Miles Sanders, there probably would have been two players meeting at the quarterback there at Bryce Young. So shout out Miles Sanders for the little chip. But yeah, like you said, Miko, this is a common theme when you watch the Panthers film. The offensive line is not, they're struggling. They have some issues with pre snap communication, whether it's like IDing the mic or just like adjusting protection to slide towards a blitz. They're having issues, and it shows with how much Bryce Young is being hit.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, when I watched this clip, I was like, this is never a good thing when both of your offensive linemen are on the ground. When you have a center and a guard both eating turf, this is not a good situation for your quarterback. And luckily, Bryce Young is able to get that chip from Miles Sanders, but also able to recognize that, like, oh, I'm in danger here, and gets this ball away. Now, this is like you said when we were watching this before we started filming, like this is clearly intentional grounding, but the alternative was your quarterback probably getting carted off the field.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right, man. He at least just gets blown blasted. Yeah, and like we said before, this should have been intentional grounding because as you'll see from this view, Miles Sanders had not a chance to catch this ball. This is like at least 6 feet over his head. I'm
Yeah.
like, "No, there's no way." So, and he threw that to nobody. But that's what happens when your right guard and your center, like you said, are on the ground making nice with the turf. That's not going to get it done.
No, it's not. And so, like we typically do with these videos, Morgan, obviously going through a couple plays, obviously this is not every aspect of the Panthers, but I got to ask you, going into Sunday, where do you sit as far as, are you confident? Are you concerned? Um how are you feeling going into Sunday?
Well, like you said, Miko, any given Sunday, the NFL is king because anything can happen. Like the Cardinals just beat the Cowboys a couple weeks ago, and I bet not many people had that on their Pick'ems league. So I'm confident, though, with the caveat that this is the NFL, and if the Lions don't come ready to play, they can easily lose this game. But if we're just looking at it on paper and how they've looked through 4 weeks, and the Lions being at home and coming off of two strong wins now from Atlanta and Green Bay, this should be a game that the Lions can maybe, be comfortable again. That would be nice. Another comfortable game. I would love that. I love a comfortable home game where I don't have to stress.
And I'm right there with you, right? I think, you never want to be disrespectful to a fan base, even if they're 0-4, or disrespectful to a team just because they're 0-4. There's a number of things that can go into a team not clicking, and all it takes is one Sunday for everything to go right, and they end up in the win column. But when looking at how the Lions have played and looking at the types of opponents they've played the last couple weeks, Carolina unfortunately fits in that same category of teams that the Lions have dominated the last few weeks. Young quarterbacks without a ton of experience dealing with offensive line issues, and then the defense just kind of feasts on that. Now, I again going to the caveat that they do have some defenders that could maybe, rattle the Lions offense a little bit if the offensive line isn't, properly prepared. But I mean, you're getting Jamison Williams back. David Montgomery is coming off an amazing game. I think the Lions have just enough, or have more than enough, not just enough, have more than enough offensively to get off to a comfortable lead, and then basically can pick apart Carolina defensively. Because if Bryce Young is going to be put into a situation where they're going to need him to throw to win, that just caters to this Lions defense, and they'll be able to feast on this offensive line, in my opinion.
You're right, Miko. That's the point I was going to get to, and you kind of beat me to it. Like if Aaron Glenn's defense can slow the Panthers' run down to like the ground game down to a crawl like early, and the Lions get out to say like a 10-0 or a 14-0 lead, all hell might break loose for poor Bryce Young because at that point, the Lions know that you're down. You can't really run the ball because you're not moving the line of scrimmage or like moving bodies. So at that
Mhm.
point, you're just kind of back there, and that's when we could see things like we saw last week where they roll Hutch inside, so he's working against a guard, or you put Hutch and Aleem on one side and just have an offense choose, like, okay, what are you going to pick? So
Exactly.
that's where they need to get, man. They need to get to that point and then just turn the juice up.
Now, I will say there is one player, if there's one player that needs like a strong talking to before Sunday, it's Jerry Jacobs.
Oh yeah.
This is a game you're playing against Adam Thielen, Mr. Crybaby himself.
Oh, yep.
You gotta be like, don't touch him. Just like if I'm AG, I'm just like, don't even get into his space because he's very crafty at getting those pass interference type of calls thrown his way.
Yeah, if it was me, I would probably have Cam Sutton be with Thielen, just have that go, and then maybe have Jerry, or if Manny Mosley's ready to go, have them be with Chark or whomever. Just
Yeah,
because, yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Thielen is famous for getting 40 and 50-yard penalties. I swear the Vikings offense used to live off those, the spot of the foul penalties. That they need to make that. That's one of Jeremy's biggest pet peeves. Like, they need to make that 15 yards, and I'm 100% with them.
same. So
Because
again, I'm very confident. I think you and I are on the same page. Very confident in what the Lions are what should be able to do on Sunday against the Panthers. There's a couple things to keep an eye on. Brian Burns again is a guy to keep an eye on. This rushing attack by the Panthers is one to keep an eye on. And again, they have some solid wide receivers. Thielen, Chark. We didn't even talk about Terrence Marshall, who was another really good wide receiver for them, a younger guy. So again, Carolina does have the ammunition. It's all about them, for the Lions, keeping them out of a rhythm so that they're not able to do the things that they want to do offensively.
Yep, couldn't have said it better myself, Miko. Get them in obvious passing downs early, heat up Bryce Young, speed up that internal clock in his head. Because at this point, I know it's only the first week of October, but very soon, we've seen it time and time again, rookie quarterbacks playing behind porous offensive lines. And, pretty early in the season, they start getting pretty trigger happy, man, because they're tired of getting hit. They're only human.
Yep.
So that's when you start getting even more turnover prone, because that clock in your head is sped up faster than it probably even needs to be, just because you're tired of getting smacked around, which I get. Again, I'm not throwing stones, because it's a tough position to play, obviously.
Absolutely. So, guys, that's going to do it for today's film study. Let us know in the comment section, what do you guys think about, the Lions matchup against the Panthers? Are you concerned? Are you confident? Is there something that we didn't highlight in this film study that you're like, hey, you guys didn't talk about this, but this is something to also keep in mind when the Lions play the Panthers? Definitely let us know in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you guys. Also, if you're looking for any more, coverage or any more information on this matchup, or any just additional information on the Lions, you can always head over to prideofdetroit.com, check out the latest articles that are getting posted over there. And last but not least, we are again very, very close to that 10K mark, very close. So if you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you are subscribed, do me a bigger favor. Share this with somebody that loves the Lions but hasn't subscribed to this channel yet. It'll do us it's the biggest favor you guys can do for us at this point, right? We'd love to get to 10K. It's a huge milestone for us. So, but yeah, Morgan, that's pretty much it. I'm Miko. He's Morgan. Thank you guys for taking the time to check us out and hang out with us. And we'll see you guys in the next one.